guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Alexa, if you didn't know by the name of my channel. And today, if you couldn't tell by the name of this video, I will be talking to you guys about the 10, I think I read 10 books this month. 11 books I read this month. So this month was a pretty good reading month. It wasn't too bad, but like I started by reading, I read a few books in the start of the month, and then the whole reading slowed down for a little while. And then I read last week, how many books did I read? I don't know, I read a bunch of books recently, and yeah, that's about it. And then I haven't read a book since last Tuesday. I guess this is my new thing where I get into reading slumps in the middle of the month. So the first book that I read this month, let me get it, is Maggie Moves On by Lucy Score. This one was, I genuinely enjoyed it. I think, I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say that I loved it, you know? I rated it a 3.5, 3.75 out of 5 just because, you know what, it's the thing where you have to get into 50-60% of the book to actually be able to enjoy it, and then you get bored, kind of, and then you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll continue, and then you get to the, 80%, no, maybe not 80, but, you get to 60% and you're like, oh wait, actually this book is not bad. But you still have to get to that 80% mark to say this book is not bad, but you still enjoy it. So that's why it's a 3.5 stars actually, not a 3.5, 3.75. But I would say the general premise of this book I really enjoyed, and I did like the execution, but it was just, I feel like the characters lacked a bit of something, so that's why I didn't enjoy it as much. But I did like the fact that she was a YouTuber, because you guys are watching my YouTube channel right now, so of course I like YouTube and all that, and books, well, YouTube and books, well, of course I like to make YouTube videos because I've been doing this for over 2 years now, so that's how I rated it. But I would say it was still enjoyable, you know, I didn't hate it, I didn't find it boring, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I wish I did. After that, we have The Chalice of the Gods by Rick Riordan. This book was a 5 out of 5 stars. If you didn't know, I was a huge Percy Jackson teen. I wouldn't say I was a kid because I was 15 when I read them first, so 4 years ago. But I binge read the entire series, almost the entire series. I think I must have read within 2-3 weeks, I read from Percy Jackson and the second one, Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters, up until Percy Jackson and the Hidden Oracle. So I read 10 books within a week and a half. I was devouring it. And this one is the 6th book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. He basically, Rick Riordan decided to add a trilogy to his series because he wanted us to be able to see the characters all grown up now, and this book just felt really nostalgic from when I read it originally. I felt like I was back in the 2020 pandemic era and just flying through these books. And honestly, it was pretty quick, and it was middle grade writing, so I really enjoyed it. Now, I don't think if I would have read the whole series right now, I would have rated this book 5 stars, but just this was more because of the nostalgia around the book that I rated it this high. After that, we have The Roommate by Rosie Dennen. Rosie Dennen. This book was I'm looking right there because I'm looking at my computer to remember what the rating was. This book was a 4 out of 5 stars. I honestly really found it good. I felt like this was just a fun read. I wouldn't say it was necessarily an amazing book or a book with a lot of substance, but I felt like there was still some emotional growth in there. And honestly, overall, this book was just a very fun book to read. I found myself giggling and laughing and just really finding it fun. I don't remember, before this one I couldn't remember the last time I just had fun while reading a book, you know what I mean? Not that I don't have fun usually, but it's just, you know when you read a book that you're objectively, this isn't a great book, but I'm just enjoying it so much that it's so fun. You get what I mean. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do. After that, I read a fantasy book that I really didn't think I would enjoy as much as I did, and it is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This book, the premise, oh, my bookmark was still there. The premise is so good. Like, it's a girl who basically, when she talks to someone, basically people around her die, basically. And then at one point, like, her whole family dies, so she has to go to this place where this new place where there's a bunch of family that she's never met, and they're, like, super rich and all that, and kind of just go through that life. And it's kind of like murder mystery and, murder mystery fantasy at the same time. So it was a really fun and, like, intense fantasy read. I could not remember the last time I was reading a fantasy book and completely lost myself in the book, forgot that I was reading. Like, I was really fully 100% immersed in this book. It's a 4.75 out of 5 because at the first, for me, getting into a fantasy book is very difficult. So, like, the first 50 to 100 pages, I was struggling a bit, like, really immersing myself into the book. But I really was fully into it, like, starting page 100, I was flying through it, reading it all the time. Like, if I was in the bus, I was reading it. If I was in the, like, metro, I was reading it. If I was waiting for the bus, I was reading it. So I was just picking it up whenever I could. So that's why, like, I'm really rating it so high, even though I found it hard to get into. But, like, the characters were great. There was a lot of character development. I could not see the twist coming. I genuinely didn't see the twist. Like, people were like, oh, I found it so easy to, like, I saw it coming, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, no. Like, am I going to see it coming? And for a while, I really thought that I knew. But I didn't. I did not know. I was shocked. My jaw dropped. So I feel like that could give you enough to really read this book because it's amazing. I honestly, yeah, everyone should go read it. All right, next we have a 5-star read, Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is her second most recent book. Her new book, Not in Love, just came out. But this one, I am so happy that I read it. Like, you guys genuinely don't understand how long I had been procrastinating reading this book. I've had it for over 2 months now, I think. No, about 2 months now. And I didn't read it until mid-June, when I'd had it since the start of May. But this book, it was amazing. And I had never read, like, this was Ali Hazelwood's fantasy debut, and honestly, that girl should write more fantasy. I think she's writing a sequel to this, which, like, I'm so excited for because there's so many characters that I'd want to see more. I want to see more of these characters in general. Like, also, there are a lot of misinformation. There is a lot of misinformation going around about this book. People are saying that this is Omegaverse. This is not Omegaverse. Don't worry. If you do like Omegaverse, then slay for you. I'm not a fan of that, but this is not that, even though there's, like, werewolves and all that. It's werewolf, vampire, and basically it's this girl who, basically a vampire bride who has an alpha werewolf form a dangerous alliance in this enthralling new paranormal romance. And basically, it's like a marriage of convenience and forced proximity, which is amazing if you love those. And I feel like she was really good. I feel like I think all Ali Hazelwood books are forced proximity, actually. And if you love all of her other books, I feel like even though this one is really different, you would absolutely love it. Like, I love fantasy in general. I love Ali Hazelwood's books, and I think I had never rated one of her books lower than 5 stars. Every single one of her books I have adored. I've devoured. So I would definitely recommend you go read this right now if you have read any other of her books and enjoyed them, because you can see it that it's her through the writing style and the way that she portrays her characters. So it was really nice to get that sense of familiarity in this new world and new space that she's never written in. And honestly, it was my first paranormal romance, I think, and I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. All right. Next, we have a book that is really off-brand for me to have read. Like, this is so, like, you guys will probably be wondering, Alexa, what happened to you? Why did you read a book that was like that? What happened? What's happening? And that was, I only have, like, the actual field guide. I don't have the actual book with me, but it's The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Moran. This is like the field guide version, so it's kind of like the activity book version, I would say. But this is, the 12-week year is a book about how, if you thought of the year as, like, if you thought of 12 weeks as a year, you would get so much more done. And I'm not rating this book because it's nonfiction and self-help, and I never rate nonfiction books because I feel like I find it very difficult to rate someone's life, because most of the time a nonfiction is either about someone's life, someone's experiences, someone's findings based on their experiences. So I feel like it's unfair to rate someone like that because I feel like I'm rating the person. So I never rate them. But I definitely really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that I bought like the field guide, and tomorrow actually I'm starting the 12-week year thing to see if I can get a lot more done, because for me with ADHD, what I find difficult is actually like, what I find more difficult is that the goals that I have in mind, it's in 12 months when I set them, so it's so far away that I can't remind myself to do the actual work and like to show up every day and like get the work done that I need to do for my goals. So knowing that the goal is in 12 weeks and that basically every day is equivalent to a week and every week is equivalent to a month. So I really like, a bad day equals like a bad week in a full year. So this really will help me like achieve my goals that I want to, hopefully. I actually still have to fill a bunch of this up because I just haven't, but there's not too much that I need to fill out. Actually, I've done an okay amount. Still have 25 pages though, so I might have to sit down and do that after this. All right, next we have See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This one is by the same author of Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, which, if you didn't know, I absolutely devoured when I read it in 2022. Yeah, 2022. And this one, I found it on Libby, and I was like, oh, let me just send it to my Kindle, and I did. And I started it one evening. I think I read like 50 pages or like 100 pages of that book. And then the next morning, my class was canceled. I sat down. I read the rest of that book. I sat down, I think at like 9 a.m. 8 a.m. And I didn't get up until 10 a.m. to read. Like, I was reading it so, not fast, but I was like, I couldn't stop reading it. I don't even think I like got up to go to the bathroom or like get more coffee or anything when I was reading it, because I was just so into the book. Basically, it's kind of like a Groundhog Day type of book, and you guys know that I usually don't like it that much. I've only read 2 that I've enjoyed, which was the Do-Over by Lynn Painter and now See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon, because what I really liked about this one is that basically it's a Groundhog Day thing, but she's not alone. So they're like 2 people, and then there's more science to it, which I really like, because I still like, even though I'm literally studying social media, I still really enjoy science. Like, it's always been one of the classes that I enjoyed, and like science stuff like that, especially like this was almost quantum physics. This was quantum physics, so I really liked it, and I liked the theories that they talked about, so that was nice. And that was fun to read about, because like I love when there's science in books like Ali Hazelwood and stuff like that, because like in a romance. And I usually just love YA romances. I feel like they're so cute and such like a great, fun, quick read and a palate cleanser. And this one is actually more deep than I thought it would be. So that was nice. And I love the character development, and the romance was great and amazing, and I loved it. Then we have one of the books that I was not expecting to love this much, okay? I was expecting to enjoy it, but I wasn't expecting to completely adore it, like want to read the sequel immediately, want to cry, throw up, and all that, like die, because I read it. And that is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This book was probably one of my favorite books so far in this entire year. Like, I think I might have enjoyed it almost as much as I enjoyed Fourth Wing last year. Maybe not. Maybe I would actually not go that far, because Fourth Wing, for some reason, just was amazing. And I actually need to do a reread soon. I'm going to do a reread soon, basically. Anyway, let's forget that. This book is a dark academia fantasy type of thing. where wait, I'll read you like the little blurb. When two young rival journalists find love through a magical connection, they must face the depths of hell in a war between gods to steal their fate forever. And what I absolutely adored about this book is that the fact that, like, I love when, oh my god, wait, sorry, I just noticed this. Oh, this is gorgeous. I'm obsessed. Oh my god, I didn't even notice. Oh, I'm obsessed, sorry. Because, like, there's little, like, there's a under the cover design. I love that it was kind of like enemy rivals to lovers, but the enemy thing was kind of one-sided, you know? Like, she was completely like, she was like, oh, you're my enemy, blah, 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 and he's just sitting there obsessed with her. And I just love this book so much. I wanted to cry, like, almost cried at the end. Almost like a Archer's Voice me crying at the end, which I cried a lot at that book. I didn't cry, but, like, I almost did. And the fantasy world, the fantasy aspect, I loved how it was kind of fantasy, not fully. And I love how there was, like, a bit of mythology in there. It was really just amazing. I could go on and on about this book, honestly. Then we have Scarred by Emily McIntyre, which is a book in the Never After series. I love how I went from Divine Rivals, beautiful lyrical book, to Scarred, which is a dark romance retelling. This is a retelling, I think, of The Lion King, but in this series, the first one being Hooked, the second one being Scarred. Classic story retelling, fantasy retelling, but in those cases, the villain is actually the one that, like, wins over the girl, which I love, honestly. This one, so yeah, basically Mufasa got the girl, like, in the first it's kind of based on that. And I love that there was kind of like, not mafia at all, but it's kind of like marriage of convenience, but not at all. Kind of, it's so difficult to explain, but I just really enjoyed it. It was I hadn't read a, wait, when was I think that might have been one of my only dark romances this year. Yeah, I read that one this year, then King of Greed, King of Sloth. Those were the 3 dark romances I've read, and which is so weird for me because I've, like, 3 for half a year is insane, and all 3 of them were in the past 2 months. I usually go through like 10, 20 a year. But I really enjoyed it. I really missed it, and I think I'm definitely going to continue this series. The first time I read a book from this series was in early 2022, and I really enjoyed it. I have no idea why I never continued it, but it was available on Libby as an audiobook, and I would definitely recommend listening to the audiobook of this book because the narrators are amazing. And it's 2 narrators for the dual point of views, so I like that they're, like, the guy and the girl, they were both British. Love them. Honestly, you could feel the chemistry between the narrators, and I was like, a scandal. I love it. It was just amazing, and I honestly, sometimes it just, like, I felt myself sitting down to be able to, like, just wrap my head around how amazing this was. Then we have The Housemaid is Watching by Frida McFadden. This one I rated 3 stars. I've read the entire Housemaid series by Frida McFadden. I read the first 2 last year in April, and then I read this one now. I really liked the first one. The second one I still pretty much enjoyed, but this third one I kind of felt like it was stretching it. I was kind of like, how many situations like this can one person go through? How many murders can one person witness? Like, I feel like this is unrealistic, and I know it's a book, but, like, I was kind of like, if this was me, I'd be utterly traumatized for the rest of my life. I would never go out of my house. But, I mean, go girl, I guess. I still enjoy the characters, but I just felt like it was too much reintroduction. I was like, this is the 3rd book in a series. We don't need to know the whole backstory of the character. We already know this. We already know who she is. And yeah, I was shocked. Like, I didn't see the plot twist coming, but I wasn't shocked. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess that's what it is. And I didn't find myself, like, scared or, like, getting chills like I usually do with thrillers. The last book that we have is no rating, but it was just truly breathtaking, and it's I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. This is, if you don't know, Jennette McCurdy played Sam Puckett on Nickelodeon, not Disney Channel. And this is just her life story of how her, like, all the trauma that she went through and just her heartbreaking life story. I would definitely recommend reading the trigger warnings before getting to this book, but the writing was breathtaking, and it was just so sad. So I would definitely not read it if you get triggered by certain things like EDs, just anything that's very intense. She went through a lot of it, like abuse and stuff like that. So I would definitely not recommend it if you are triggered by these things. But if you do want to read it, I would recommend the audiobook, because you can just feel the emotions so much more if it's her reading it, like her own life story and her telling it. So I felt like that was beautiful, but it was just a very heavy book. So definitely only read it if you're in the right mind space as well. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing to my channel. If you don't already, if you want to see more of my content, go on my TikTok, my Instagram, all that. And if you want to see, if I guess you want to know my recommendations, the books that I read, go to my Goodreads, which is also in the link down below. I will see you guys next time I post a video. Not next month. I don't post a video once a month. I post one to multiple times a week. Please comment down below what you read this month, or what your favorite book was this month. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I love you and have an amazing day. Bye!